We're pleased to welcome Tyson Shumway. He's currently with a large department in California where he works on their part-time SWAT team. He's been in law enforcement for 13 years, and during that time, he's specialized in instructing defensive tactics, physical training, firearms, and warrant service, including at the police academy. Tyson defies most LEO stats by being happily married to the same woman for 19 years, and he has 4 kids and is a leader in his church's youth program. Tyson, thanks for taking the time away from, looks like you could have been potentially getting jacked right now due to your gym right in the background.
Yeah, that'll happen later, but my pleasure.
Nice.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So Tyson and I, we know each other because we just crossed paths through strength and conditioning. We both have a passion for lifting and training for our career. And Tyson, the reason, part of the reason we want to get you on the show is just because you do have much more experience in law enforcement than Lexi and I even combined. So, so it's always nice to try to glean a little knowledge from somebody who's been around, and particularly you've worked at a police academy, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So how did you get into that position, working for the academy?
Well, I've always had a passion for teaching and instructing and giving back, and throughout my career and throughout my life, I've always tried to give back to the younger generations and stuff. So I always had an interest in going and teaching at the academy. My academy experience was great. It was a life-changing experience for me, getting me ready to be a police officer, and so being able to do the same for some of the people that I'd be working with down the line was something that I was really interested in.
So let me ask you, what was so life-changing? Because I can say my academy experience was life-changing in a way. I mean, everything's life-changing to some degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you go for a walk, that's life-changing. I mean, you experience something, not
Right.
to get too existential, but I'm just curious because, what was so profound about your experience there training?
Yeah, I think just the experiences that I had as far as seeing how far I could push myself and what I could overcome. I went in when I was a little bit older. I was about 27, 28 when I went into the academy. So I already had some life experience. I had been married for a number of years, had 3 kids, things like that. But going through the academy and learning how far I could push myself, the aspects of the training to where I could overcome trials, and become more resilient, and learn the things that I could do to give back to people in the community that were either having the worst day of their lives, or just trying to overcome their own trials and be able to help them out with those situations, were the main things that I learned in the academy. It's our academy is 6 months long. It's a live-in academy, so having a wife and kids at home and having to live there day in and day out, and then come home on the weekends and then leave them and go back to the academy. Just, I think it teaches people resilience and how to really put, when you're on the job, when you're out there working, and you put that first. And you put the people that you're serving first. And I think those are the main things that I kind of got from all of the relationships and the qualities and all the stuff that I was taught at the academy.
Yeah, that's funny. My husband calls it self-imposed hardship. So when
Oh
you're
yeah.
you're in a situation where you've voluntarily gone to the police academy, and you have a concept in mind of what's going to be required emotionally, physically, tactically, all that stuff. But then when you finally experience it, you're like, oh, I'm in too deep now to turn back. And you just kind of have to forge on, even though, you're away from your family and the hours and all that stuff, which is,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure demanding. Lexi, our academy wasn't sleepaway camp. It was I got to commute. And it was 2 months less than that. So.
Wow.
Yeah, and not as physically demanding, I am assuming. Do you think a lot of those lessons you learned were from the physical aspect of the training you were getting, or was there some of the other training with the law you were learning and all the other aspects that were demanding on you?
Yeah, a lot of it was kind of the whole experience altogether, but definitely the physical aspect. Waking up every morning, going to PT, running, which I'm not really a runner, but being able to overcome those trials and being able to see how far I could push myself was basically what helped me catapult me into the rest of my life. I went into the academy not in super great shape as well. So going through the academy at first was tough, but making that transformation to where pushing myself to where I thought was my limits and then being able to see more, I think is a huge aspect of what helps our officers really see what they can do and what they can accomplish. And it goes to the survival mindset as well. As far as if you're in a situation where you don't think you're going to go home that night, and you can pull something from how hard you pushed yourself at your academy class, or how hard you pushed yourself during a physical activity, you know that you can always push yourself a little bit harder. So that's kind of the things that I tried to instill when I was a PT instructor at our academy too, was you guys are pushing yourselves hard. You know that you can go further than this. The human body will go further than this, and being able to overcome those shortfalls, or those physical shortfalls, helps them to be able to overcome the mental shortfalls later on in life.
So that being said, I think I know your answer to this, but I'd like to hear what you're going to say. There are some academies nationwide that are getting a little bit away from that physically demanding style of academy, and getting away from the PT and a little bit away from the real physical DT. And how important, or I guess what would your opinions on that be in your experiences?
I definitely think it's a disservice. This is a physical job. You need to be able to do certain things to do the job. And however we want to sugarcoat it, there's certain people that can't do the job because of physical limitations. If you can't jump over a 6-foot wall to help somebody, or to chase somebody down, or to catch someone with a gun, then that's definitely a limitation. If you can't pick somebody up out of the middle of the road and drag them to safety, that's a physical limitation that is, in my mind, is unacceptable. So the physical aspect of academies, I think, is very important, not just for that, but also to build that resilience, to build that mindset that you can push yourselves further. Our department doesn't do anything after the academy like a lot of agencies do. You can voluntarily do like an annual fitness little challenge thing that we do, but there's nothing required after the academy. I think that's also a disservice to all the law enforcement officers out there, because there's certain things that we have to do day in and day out, and to stay healthy as well. The number of back injuries and the number of issues that I've seen in my career from guys that are getting ready to retire or almost retire is astounding. And if they would just pick up some weight every once in a while, do a few things. I mean, we work day in and day out. We work every single day doing our job. I'd say even more so than the firefighters that go out there and fight fires, and they have a physical and demanding job too. But we're out on the street every single day, having to do these physical things.
Tyson, we're gonna get a whole bunch of firefighter hate mail now. Thanks a lot. No,
I already do. Some of my best friends are firefighters, but I mean, they have physical they have physical standards that they have to adhere to,
of course,
every single year, and we don't. And I think, regardless of us we sit in a patrol car for probably 70 to 80% of our day, but those times that we have to get out and go 100% are where the injuries happen.
Yeah, it's I like what you said about some of the physical aspects being jumping over walls. In my mind, I was like envisioning like someone doing it like a box jump, no arms, just jumping over a 6-foot wall. And then like, I'm imagining all of like these physical feats, like you're like bending a bullet, like in Wanted, like these are the minimum things that you have to be able to do. No.
Yeah. Basics.
But the truth is that, you have to meet the physical demands of the job, but there's a whole other vein of thought in that, which is if we continue to create some physical demands in training, we're also creating that stress inoculation. This is a theme. If you talk to anybody who's been in police work for a little while and has a passion for fitness, they know that when you are doing these tasks, kind of like you alluded to at the very beginning in like the academy, post academy, and an ongoing training, then you're able to make better decisions under stress, which is a huge thing in terms of our relationship with the community, right? You want to be able to trust that the cop that shows up on the call is going to be able to work through a physical task and think rationally and make the best possible decision, because they're not overwhelmed by the physical toll that task is taking on them, to where they feel like their options are limited, right? And that's when you work through a force escalation thing, which, you know,
Right.
it just, you don't end up utilizing maybe the motor skills that you could to, whether it's apprehend a suspect or take control of a situation. So that is huge. I think that is a huge side of the coin. Is that something that you guys talk a lot about at the academy as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We go through stress courses where you have to handcuff people under a high heart rate. If you haven't ever done anything at like 160, 170 beats per minute, and you're in that condition black, and now you have to go out there and perform fine motor skill tasks like handcuffing somebody, magazine changes for your weapon, all that stuff comes into play. And if you've never done it at a high heart rate, once you get there, you're gonna fumble everything all over the place. So
Mm-hmm.
getting people to that high heart rate, we do stress courses on our range. We do stress courses where we put cadets through boxing, so they have to box somebody for a couple rounds, and then as soon as they're done boxing, they take the gloves off and they have to go put somebody into a control hold and apply the cuffs.
That's awesome.
And yeah, we do wrestling and all that stuff. So all that stuff is huge. Basically, being able to know how your body's going to react at that high heart rate and be able to calm it down too, to be able to bring that heart rate down as quickly as possible so that you can de-escalate a situation, and use the force that's necessary.
Have you seen like academy candidates? I don't know, you call them recruits or whatever. Have you seen them then go through kind of like that gradual stress inoculation and improve over time?
Yeah, one of my favorite things to do when I was teaching there was we'd sit out in the quad and kind of watch the cadets walk to meals, and we have our staff officers that are chipping at them and yelling at them and asking them questions about different penal codes and stuff. And you can definitely see a difference between we always have two classes of cadets in it at a time. So we have a senior class and a junior class. So seeing the cadets that are walking down the quad a week in, 2 weeks in, and just seeing them shake, basically physically shake when they're asked questions, or physically not carrying themselves with confidence, as opposed to watching cadets that have been there for 3, 4, 5 months, you definitely see that change. They're able to deal with the stress a lot better. They're able to remain calm under stressful situations and be able to answer questions that they're asked. And then also in a lot of the situations when we do the handcuffing and stuff, those are stressful situations, and being able to see the muscle memory that they build from practicing, and now they can handle those types of situations when they are at a high heart rate. So it's one of the favorite things to do, is kind of see that transformation in cadets from day one until they graduate. And it's a visible transformation that we see.
And I think that's huge. I mean, if this last year has shown us anything, is just how stressful the job could be. And I mean, I think maybe 5 years ago, when you're a cadet going through, you might think, well, this is dumb, I'm getting yelled at all the time, this is never going to happen out of the street. But yes, it is. It's going to happen for 24-hour periods where you're going to be just screamed at by thousands of people.
Or like try to do an arrest outside of a bar close or something like that.
Yeah.
Good God, that's just like people, you're getting heckled and you're fumbling in your handcuffs and you're like, this situation sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. People in your face yelling at you, within centimeters of your face, and not touching you. So you have to just stand there and take it. And that's the academy all over again. So
yeah. Well, luckily it wasn't exactly like that for us. Washington is a little bit different, but needless to say, I think, Lexi and I, we like to shit talk to each other, not centimeters from each other's face, but like maybe 6 inches or so. And That's how we.
Well, 6 feet now, right? You have to stay 6 feet
Yeah.
away.
6 feet, yes, with
Yeah.
masks on, yes.
Exactly. So can you talk a little bit about the fitness aspect at the academy? What kind of training did they have at the academy in terms of hours and then content?
So yeah, so your day starts basically about 4:30 in the morning. Wake up and do PT. PT consists of since we're training a large number of cadets. It started out with in my academy class was all floor workouts. So um, push-ups, sit-ups, air squats, a lot of that stuff. Wrestling mats over the head, mat raises. So anything like mostly body weight stuff for about 20, 25 minutes. And then you'd go out and go on a run anywhere from a 3 to 5 mile run. And that was 3 days a week. So yeah, that's lots of running. Towards the end of me being over at PT, I was able to kind of implement a little bit different structure where we were able to get a bunch of stuff from Rogue and had assault bikes and rowers and kettlebells, slam balls, and a bunch of stuff. So we did a lot more like circuit training, and I tried to implement a lot more sprint training into their training as well, just because what do we usually do when we get out of the car and go, we're sprinting? I'm not going to run 5 miles after somebody, my radio stops working after about 100 yards. So, and then after that, they eat breakfast at the academy. They have classes all morning, eat lunch at the academy, have classes in the afternoon. And those classes are anything from enforcement tactics to criminal law. We teach Spanish, DUI investigations, all that stuff. And then they're usually supposed to be in bed, lights out by about 9:30 or 10. So that's a day, and that's Monday through Friday. So there's a lot of academics mixed in there too. Mostly academics. We really only get to see, for PT, we get to see the cadets 3 days a week. And they can train on the off days and stuff, doing all their arrest and control. But we taught that was one of the biggest things that was interesting. It was in the morning when I was teaching PT, I was a disciplinarian and yelling and screaming and stuff. But then just a couple hours later, I would get the exact same cadets coming in to learn arrest and control and handcuffing techniques from me. So I had to flip roles and become an instructor. So finding that happy medium between being a coach and a motivator, as opposed to being an instructor and a motivator, was something interesting that kind of evolves as they go through the academy too, right? As once they get about 3 months in, you're no longer really yelling at them in the morning for PT. It's more motivation. It's like, hey, come on, you guys can do this. And then becoming an instructor and working with these cadets that are someday going to be working with me on the road. You want to build those relationships so that you're not the guy that they go out on the road and be like, oh, that guy was a jerk in the academy. You want to build that relationship so they want to be your partner on the road and back you up on a stop. So yeah, but it's the academy is, I mean, it's intense, and there's driving. We do high speed driving and everything still. So we have, in a class of about 150, will usually graduate just under 100. So there's a pretty big attrition rate too. Yeah, but
yeah.
So I'll give you a chance to get on your soapbox a little bit, because I imagine, but what would you say to officers who are out of the academy, they're, find themselves in their patrol job or whatever job they're in, and they have gotten away from training, or they've gotten away from DT? What would you say to them as far as continuing their training?
They owe it to themselves. They owe it to their coworkers. They owe it to their family, to be able to go home to their family at the end of every day. If officers aren't training outside of work, they're not getting enough training. We get 4 hours of defensive tactics a year, and training outside of the job, doing some type of combative, some type of jujitsu, some type of firearms training. Just for me personally, I usually spend anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a year on my own training, whether it's jujitsu or firearms classes and things like that. And I look at that as, I owe that to my wife and kids, to where if I'm ever put in a situation where I need to utilize the training that I'm getting outside of the department, that I'm going to utilize that and be able to come home to them. But there are a lot of officers out there that look at the job as just a 9 to 5, and they show up, do their job, and then go home. And I think that they're doing a disservice to the rest of the officers that they have to work with or that they have to back up. And I think that if you really, this isn't just a job. I've never looked at law enforcement as just a job. It's a lifestyle, and being able to live that lifestyle to make yourself better. A lot of people forget that after they graduate the academy, they go and do their job, and they're doing so much, they're working so much, and they're doing so much overtime so that they can pay for the new car, new house, and everything that they have. But the real important things are just being able to do your job day in and day out and turn it into a lifestyle and live that lifestyle. I mean, what better lifestyle is there than being able to go out and serve the public, and then to train and learn combatives, be able to shoot firearms. I mean, it's the best thing. And then to be a leader in the community and a leader in your family and be able to set that example for not only my kids, but the kids that I work with at the church and stuff like that. It's a huge blessing in my life. So
Yeah, and that's just it too. Is like, yeah, you owe it to your family, you owe it to yourself and your coworkers, but you've also taken this oath to serve the community, and on
right.
a whole, the expectations are extremely high of you, and
Mhm.
we can sit and we can minimize it as much as we want, or in today's culture, say, well, I'm only answering 911 calls. I'm not doing any proactive work, or I'm, basically trying to minimize your job as much as possible. But the fact of the matter is, we did take a huge responsibility when we got into this profession, and there's a lot that goes along with it. And keeping yourself fit and ensuring that you're staying up to date on what's going to protect you, protect the citizens, is it's just intrinsically part of the job. I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
if you're not willing to at least invest a little bit of time in that, and if you want to bark up your department's tree and say like, hey, you guys aren't providing enough training, do it. But don't just sit around and roll call and bitch about it. Actually do something
Right.
about it. Like, it doesn't hurt to ask. Like, that's that's the least you can do. So
And something that I notice is that officers who are competent and in shape and who spend time doing their combatives and feel very confident in that space deal with the community, deal with whoever we're having to answer 911 calls in a much better way. They're confident. They're not are going into that at this level and or a high level. It's just a different interaction to those people that you can tell don't have that confidence and are worried about the where a call might go.
I think and
Right.
it's the old adage too that the people who train the most use least force, right? Like the people who can like basically fold you into a pretzel, who are the most adept at all those things, they actually use the least force and are the last thing that they want to do is like get into a situation where they have to use those skills. And so it's just interesting because that their confidence is so high that it helps mitigate their need to use those skills, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. It's you can definitely tell the officers that you're working with that train and the ones that don't. And it goes to kind of our mindset on the job too. When I'm out working and I see a situation, I don't know A from B. I don't know person A from person B. I'm running into that situation. I'm helping, and whether it be an active shooter situation or a car on fire, I'm helping anybody that's in that situation to overcome the trials that they're facing. And whether pulling someone out of a burning car, I don't see color, race, creed. I think that goes a lot to kind of our mindset as well, right? We've promised to serve everybody, and when I'm out on the road and I deal with different types of people all day in and day out, and on like I said earlier, on their worst day of their life, if I can give them a little bit of tranquility, a little bit of peace, and be able to have a cool, calm head um, in the situation, that's going to help calm the situation down. And that goes to training. That goes to me being able to be physically fit, training in combatives, and being able to know how I can handle myself. A lot of it goes to demeanor. We teach our cadets a lot about that in the academy, and the demeanor that they show the public is how the public's going to react to them. If I walk up to a scene and my uniform is all disheveled and I look like I haven't slept in 3 days, I'm unshaven and unkept, that demeanor, right, is going to tell that person this guy doesn't take his job seriously. I can take this guy. But if I'm well kept, uniform pressed, look like I work out a little bit, right? At least a little bit, hair's combed, yeah, well, I'm shaved, and I walk up with confidence, then a lot of times that diffuses the situation right off the bat.
Hmm. Yeah. And both in terms of when you're dealing with suspects and when you're just dealing with the community and trying to put a professionalism first. And we could go down that rabbit hole because because this is I don't know, the last 3 years are like the years of the beards. Like it's like
Oh yeah.
the beards are plentiful at our department. But switching gears a little bit,
Mhm.
what it, what at the academy did you guys discuss, like specifically your role with the community? Do you guys do any community projects while you're at the academy?
Yeah, we do a service project. Every cadet class does a service project, and we do community outreach.
Hmm.
Our academy is great at doing like public tours and stuff like that too. We have an explorer program for youth that are interested in becoming CHP officers, and we give back in that way as well. But
Hmm.
the the service project that we do at the academy ranges anywhere from like um, painting how we painted some houses and fixed up some apartments for a battered women's shelter, or worked at a children's hospital and things like that. So whoever's in charge of the class, whoever the staff officer is in charge of that class, kind of works with the class president and comes up with an idea for a service project so that we can get out there and really mingle with the community and help see what we're giving back to, and help them see that we're just normal people too. We're trying to give back and trying to help them in any way. We do Toys for Tots drives and all that stuff. Our community engagement in our department, I think, is really good with the things that we do to help out and to kind of go into the communities and help. We do the every 15 minutes presentations at high schools, which is the DUI situation, where we'll actually take some cars in and kind of do like a mock DUI death investigation to kind of show the kids in high school, hey, don't drink and drive. We do that usually before like prom night and things like that. So all that kind of stuff
Yeah,
I think is huge.
that's awesome. So,
And
go ahead,
how,
Lex.
yeah, how important, both for the community and also just for, I think, officer longevity in their career, how important do you think that service mindset is?
I think it's the reason that we do the job, right? I didn't come on the job to necessarily to go out there and hook and book every night. I came on the job to give back to the community and to be able to help people in the community and provide that service that I can for them. I think that when people start to lose sight of that, they start to forget why we're here on the job, and why and part of the oath that we took, right, is to protect and serve, and safety, service, and security, and to do all those things. And I think when people start to lose sight of that, they become disgruntled with the job and things like that. If you with that service mindset in all aspects of life, right? If we're able to give back to the community and serve, then we're able to start feeling more like a part of that community, and take ownership of the places that we live, and the city that we're serving, or the area that we're serving, and want to see the people that are there and the community succeed as a whole. And by doing that service as officers, we can help that.
Yeah, and
And
go ahead,
go ahead,
Lex.
Kelly.
Well,
Well,
I was just gonna say that um like it's one thing that Alexi and I, we've interviewed a few people now who have prioritized a lot of community engagement in terms of just kind of like that one-on-one aspect, right? Like
Mhm.
the taking the time out of your day, like, maybe you've had three shitty calls, but you have a break, and getting something that brings you back to calibrated like normalcy, to just remind yourself that not every interaction is negative, taking the time to just personally talk to someone on the street for no, like, you have no agenda, there's no reason, it's not an
Right.
investigation. And that's one of the things I've been taking away recently, is just like those little interactions. They do a ton for the community, but the other aspect is just that it provides that balance. And that's something that we've kind of chatted about recently. Yeah. Sorry, Lexi, to cut you off there.
Oh no, that's okay. I agree a lot. I mean, I think we see negativity, so we have to seek out positivity. But maybe your thoughts, Tyson, on, if you are an officer that's in one of these communities right now that feels like they don't want interaction from us, whether it's true or not, and it feels very like adversarial, what would your advice be to newer officers or officers that have been around for a while to sort of overcome that?
Just be visible. I think that being visible and being in the community, and don't go out there and write a ton of tickets. Don't go out there and try to light the world on fire, but just be there and serve the people. I think that, if you look back at police work, and historically the police have been there to kind of help out with situations. And I think we took, like, I'll go back to it, the firefighters, right? If we took a page out of the firefighters book and actually went into the communities to serve a little bit more, they would say, I worked for the first 2 years of my career down in LA, in Compton and Watts, in those areas. And just driving around the streets, going into the convenience stores, and talking to the store owners and things like that, and being a police presence made those people feel like we actually cared and that we were there to help them if situations happen. And then treating everybody with respect. Just, if you never know what somebody's gone through or what somebody's been facing on any given day in their life, treating them with respect that they deserve, because they're a human being, I think goes a long way. But go into the communities and talk to people and help them out, and basically just show them that you're just a regular person too, and kind of get past that super heavy badge that we wear on our chest a lot of times, and that super strong persona that we try to let those walls break down a little bit, and show them that you can be a person, that you care about them, and you care about their community just as much as they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's one of the themes that's been running recently, is just to try to be as human as possible. I know that sounds like something you would tell a robot or something, but like, yeah, I mean, just to kind of level with people. And one of the best ways to do that, as we've learned, is just by being genuine, finding things that interest you, and kind of utilizing those to reach out to other people, which is, I think, a really cool tool, because everybody can tell if you're being disingenuous,
Right.
or awkward or something like that. But, just shooting the shit with just as you normally would, I think would be a great way to kind of bridge that gap. So I'm curious about your experience with other leaders. Is there anyone, you don't have to name names, but is there any person or people in your life who have kind of stood out in terms of leadership? And if so, like what kind of characteristics were you influenced by?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. My mind goes to, obviously, my dad, and then there's other leaders and stuff that I've had in my life. But I think my dad, the best example that my dad's ever given to me, is to be a servant leader. Growing up, he always served, and he still does. He's in his late 60s and stuff, but the guy's out there helping people move, or doing something at least 2 or 3 times a week. Every time I call him, he's serving and giving back. And I think that some of the strongest leaders in my life have shown that type of service, and they take away a lot of the focus on them, and they put it on others, and they want others to feel that they love them, and have that idea that we're all in this together, and that we're going to help each other succeed. So I think the biggest leaders in my life have been those who serve and are servant leaders, and who want to see other people succeed. I've seen it at the academy. I've seen it in academy classes, cadets who step up and help their fellow cadets to succeed in certain areas that they might have trouble in. to me, that's the biggest thing that you can do as a leader is help those around you succeed and help bring those people up and help develop um, everybody that's underneath you or that's around you to become a leader as well. I think that should be the goal of every leader, is to
Yeah.
make their people leaders as well, and to build them up.
Lexi, I was watching your face during that and you were like, oh yeah, hell
Yes.
yeah.
Check, check, check.
Why does that resonate with you, Lex?
Well, I'm currently putting together a training for new officers on leadership mindset. And it, might feel weird to them that we are training them on how to be leaders because they're not even on the street yet. But like you've said, we're leaders in our community. We need to start thinking about that earlier rather than later. And a lot of the points you just mentioned are things that I've got in my slideshow. So I love that servant mentality. And I think a question for you is, on the other side of that coin, have you seen any in law enforcement or not, any sort of destructive leadership styles? And what does that do to the morale of people?
Lexi with the softballs all day today. My God, I love it.
Yeah, definitely. It's I mean, that's a hard one, because we all know who those people are. We all know that they exist, and especially in our management structure. You have sergeants and then lieutenants and captains, and I've always said the further up the chain that people move, the further away from actually being an officer people move, the dumber they get. They just don't they don't remember what it's like to be an officer. They don't remember what it's like to work with the public and to be servants. So basically that's what they forget. They're always worried about what that next level is, about what the next level of or rank or whatever so they become yes men, and they want to get that bar on their collar, or that extra star on their collar. So I've seen that a lot, and that I mean, we know it completely destroys morale, because for me, I'm an officer. I might promote to sergeant something someday, but for me, like I said, if I have a lieutenant or a captain or somebody who really cares about his people, they're going to be developing their officers to become the next sergeant, to become the next lieutenant. And they're more worried about what their next level is, as opposed to how to grow their people. I've seen it a number of times where officers are interested in doing a new job, or want to go grow and switch areas where they're working, and their management or their sergeant or their captain basically tells them, no, don't leave, we need you here, and things like that. And instead of telling them, yes, go grow, learn these things that you want to learn, and then we'll bring you back once you learn those things, because you'll be a more well-rounded officer. There's a lot of situations, and at least in my department, where people's careers are pigeonholed because they want to expand, or they want to leave, and people feel the lack of them wanting to stay and do that job. But all in all, I think the leadership in my department is pretty good. I have some pretty good sergeants and things around me, but it's when they lose that focus of serving the people that they work for. Because once you become a sergeant or a lieutenant, you really work for the officers that you're over. Those are your people, and those are who you're supposed to be building up, who you're supposed to help make it to the next level.
That's excellent. I keep thinking about that servant. You said servant leader. Is that the way you refer to it?
Yeah, servant leader. Yeah.
Okay. Is that a something that originated as like a religious phrase, or?
It's actually my kids go to a school called John Adams Academy, and that's taught a lot there. It's basically from our forefathers, from Washington and those guys were servant leaders. They served the community that they lived in, and they became leaders after that. George Washington, as our president of the United States, he served our country for years and years and years, and became the president. Didn't really want the job, but since he
Hmm.
had built that reputation and served so much, people wanted someone who was going to serve and continue to give back. So my kids learn a lot about that in school, and that's one of the things that I love the most, because they go into the community as well. They go into the community and serve the community, and through serving the community, they become leaders in the community. Everybody wants to see somebody who's actually out there giving back, and helping the community grow, not just someone that's going to come in from the outside and be like, "Hey, I want to be your leader." No, you need to really buckle down, serve the community, and show them what you have to offer, so that you can, and then they'll want you to lead.
This might be a redundant question, but as we kind
Hmm.
of round out the conversation, I'm curious if there's anything you think that our career field, law enforcement, on the whole, can do to kind of mend things with the community. Because whether or not you necessarily agree with everything that's going on in terms of these defund the police movements and things like that, or reform police movements, there's no question that there's been a tumultuous relationship between law enforcement and the community since the inception of law enforcement, and there's always room for improvement, no question.
Yeah.
What do you think, in just in general terms, like where do you see this going? How can we? I know you said reaching out to our community in terms of just being visible and that kind of thing. Is there anything else you want to add on that you think our field could do?
Yeah, I think get back to the basics. Get back to the basics of our job and why we came on this job. Get back to the basics of why we all applied to be police officers. I definitely didn't apply for the pay or the benefits. I applied because I wanted to serve, and I wanted to give back to the community. I've always had that desire in my life. And for those officers out there that don't have that, take a step back and realize and see if this is something that should continue to do.
That's a
Because if
great
it's not
point.
something, yeah, if it's not something that you really feel and that you want to live that lifestyle, then don't. There's plenty of people out there that want to serve, and that want to give back to the community, and that want to live this lifestyle. Give them their chance. And if that's not something that you want to do, if you're just here for the paycheck, then you're here for the wrong reasons. And I think that there's not a lot, but there's some officers out there that are just here for the paycheck, and they're not doing us any favors.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to frame it too, just to get people interested in the career, people that have that servant mindset and maybe don't see law enforcement right now as being a manifestation of that. But it truly is, like you said, when you just get back down to the basics, we are servants of the community. Just as our sergeants should be working for us, we should be working for the communities that we serve. So I think,
Right.
Framing it in that way is such a great way to get the right people into the job. And then hopefully to keep reminding them throughout their career that that's a core component of it. So I
And
really like what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, and the whole thing, reminding them throughout their career, that's a really important point, because there's a lot of people who came to law enforcement with the best intentions, who are excellent servant leaders, who are
Mhm.
incredible, empathetic, wonderful communicators, just very, very good with the community, who have since left the job because of everything
Mhm.
that's gone on. And
Right.
that is what just pains me and it hurts my heart, because I'm all about trying to reform police culture in a way that is more cohesive with the community. I'm all for that. Unfortunately, what it did was back a lot of great officers against a wall, and
Yeah.
created such a strain on them personally and professionally that they had to step away. And then we in turn lost some of our best, servant leaders. And it's heartbreaking. And so I think that's what, part of this is about, is reminding those folks, like, this is why you got into the career. It is a noble profession. It's something that, if you had that calling, at the beginning, it's still there somewhere. You just have to you have to be a little proactive with how you tap into that frequently.
Yeah, I think a lot of those people that have left and are leaving realize they still have that mindset. They want to serve,
Yeah.
and they think that they can serve better somewhere else. They see that they're running up against a wall, and that they really don't have the authority or the backing of their department. So my wife and I have even talked about it. You know,
Hmm.
I'm working on my master's. I'll have my master's in a couple of months. Like, what can I do? Am I really serving the best that I can here, or would I be a better servant and be able to give back to the community, teaching high school or teaching college somewhere,
Hmm.
or teaching the next generation? I recently just applied for another job at the academy. I'm trying to go back to the academy and teach at the range, because that's my passion, is being
Hmm.
able to help build these officers to be the best leaders that they can. But if we aren't getting the backing of our department to help us do that, then those who are the best servant leaders are going to go find, or the best servants, and are going to go find somewhere else that they can fulfill that passion if they're not able to fulfill it here. So I think that's something that departments really have to take a step back and look at too, is kind of just allow the officers to do their job and give them the backing that they need to go out there and do the right thing. We've been doing it for years. I've always said our shifts work way better when there's no leadership there. You know, we police ourselves and help each other out, and are able to do that. But
Well,
I like,
there's leadership. It's just not the conventional
it's
sense.
not, yeah, it's not
Yeah. The
the ones
brass.
with the brass on their collars. But I like what you said there, that it is sad that we're losing some of those officers that are the best among us. But uh, you know, if people who want to serve and want to be officers, it's going to get better. I honestly think that it will. There's always ebbs and flows. I've been
Hmm.
I've been in the job for 13 years, and it's tougher than I've seen it in the past. But I think that if we continue to just do our job and focus on what's important, then we'll make it out. So
Yeah. And I think that, you know, as a sort of a little disclaimer, I think that it's totally natural for people to evolve in and out of the profession, and I think that
oh
that's
yeah.
okay. And
Hmm.
you certainly, if someone wants to be a peacock and fly, so be it. You know, go do your
That's right.
thing. Go find how you can best serve, and I know that you will as well. You found ways to do that through the academy, and may well do that again, and through your church, and you know, as a father to 4 kids. So we can't thank you enough. Lexi, do you have anything else for Tyson before we close up
But
shop?
I've just been with everybody we're talking to. There seems to be themes, and we do feels like we're talking to the best among us, and you know, you certainly fall in that category, and very inspiring. I really enjoyed talking to you. So
Thank you. Yeah, likewise.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tyson. And
No problem.
hopefully we can chat with you again. Maybe if you get a new position or you end up teaching at some high school. Like, I'm just imagining, like, how do I reach these kids? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
awesome. Well, thanks for taking
Yeah.
the time, and go
Yep.
get strong. Okay.
All right, we'll do. Thank you.
You're
thank you very
welcome.
much.
Bye.
All
Bye.
right.